to give that as the only line of treatment for people is just not fair. You know what I mean? Because there are so many other things that are playing a role at the same time.
Welcome back to another episode of Girls Gotta Eat.
May 1st, big show month.
Oh my God.
The
Every
biggest
weekend,
of the
biggest.
big.
Yeah.
Last call for Chicago this weekend, then next weekend, DC and Philly, then the next weekend, Boston. So many special surprises.
4 of our favorite cities ever to perform in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
It's really happening. It's really just all these huge theaters in these epic cities. We're going to have Matt Hesseltine in Chicago. You're probably going to meet him. I'm going to put him to work. I'm going to send him out in the crowd. He won't be stripping. And then crazy stuff for Philly and DC. And we have a really special guest in Boston. I'm not going to say it yet, but he's been at previous shows with us, but never in Boston. And it's truly one of the absolute funniest. It's the funniest part of the show. When he's there, I can't breathe.
But yes.
Like, yeah, but I mean, like for me as a special guest, it's like I can't breathe when he's on stage.
Yeah, it's nice. I just take a little break. I get to giggle. It's like being on Inspector.
Yeah. So keep it in mind and get those tickets. Girls Gotta Eat. And of course, to all the cities through 2023. But I'm just really excited today. The day the episode drops, May 1st, big month, exciting month. It's going to be lit. I can't wait.
Man, and if you guys are coming to those shows, you know we want your roasts of the people in your party. Tell us who you're coming with. Tell us crazy stories between you and the people that you're coming with. If you're bringing your mom or your sister or your ex, we want to hear all of it. That should all go to stories@girlsgottaeat.com and just tell us what city you're coming to in the subject line. But oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yay! It's gonna be my...
I forget
I hate that meme though. It's like, it was funny once 10 years ago. Like truly, that's got to be an original meme.
Definitely. But people always text you like, guess what? and then they send
the picture of Justin Timberlake with his hair looking like ramen.
Got you.
It's always...
Do you remember that he was a sex symbol looking like that? That is crazy.
I like JC.
You were a JC fan? That's like being in love with AC Slater and not Zach Morris. Like you bucked the trend.
Well, I had weird taste. You know, I like Paul from Wonder Years. But like, I also like John from New Kids on the Block, like not Jordan or Joey. I also felt like I knew I was like a taller woman. I'm like, Joey's too short for me.
A taller woman? You were like a little kid. I knew I was
taller than all the boys. But yeah, and obviously then I leaned towards Justin. But like in the early days, I was JC. Mm-hmm. And I did a Peloton ride the other day of like a lot of those songs, Backstreet, NSYNC. It was Cody Rigsby. And his commentary the whole time was so funny. And he played that Digital Get Down. Do you remember the song Digital Get Down? And it was basically about like cyber sex, like meeting people on the internet.
That's what that was about. I never thought about it. You're like dancing in your room to it, singing. You have no idea what the lyrics meant.
Digital Get Down. It's about like having your webcam on, like talking to people in chat rooms.
Digital Get Down. Yeah. That is so funny. I never thought about it.
JC kind of rapped in it a little.
Okay, let me ask you. Did you have a 90210 crush?
Okay. I am embarrassed to admit, because I live right by the area code, I really didn't watch that show. And I think my mom...
Were you allowed?
I wasn't really allowed. It wasn't like so strict, but I think she kind of associated with Melrose Place. And I remember not being allowed to watch Melrose Place. And I think I did watch some Beverly Hills 90210, but I never got like so into it. But I did like Jason Priestley, Brandon more than Luke Perry. Like I felt like an outlier there too.
I've never had a savior complex. I think that like we developed savior complexes young because of the Luke Perry like character, you know? I also would sit in my basement on a volume 1 and listen to 90210. I wasn't allowed to watch that. Absolutely not.
I did also have, which I feel like I was appropriating because I didn't really watch it that much, but I did have a Brenda Barbie doll.
What?
They made 90210 dolls.
I didn't know that. Brenda's getting divorced. You know that? This week?
Wait, were Brenda and Brandon
brother and sister?
In real life? No, on the show.
Shannon Doherty is not his sister.
Shannon. I also liked it because it was like brother and sister. Like I had a brother. Like, I don't know.
All right. I'm sure we'll continue this walk down memory lane, but we're going to thank some of our partners and jump right into it. Thanks to Buffy for supporting Girls Gotta Eat. Buffy makes award-winning bedding that's soft on you and soft on the earth. For $20 off your Buffy order, visit buffy.co and enter the promo code GGE. And thanks to HelloFresh for supporting Girls Gotta Eat. Go to HelloFresh.com/GGE16 and use code GGE16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping.
Yes, and thanks to StoryWorth for sponsoring this episode. StoryWorth helps you share stories and memories. Give all the moms in your life a meaningful gift you'll both cherish for years. StoryWorth, and save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/GGE. And thanks to Babbel for supporting Girls Gotta Eat. You only need 10 minutes to complete a lesson, so you can start having real life conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Right now, get up to 55% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/GGE.
So I think this is our last recording on your couch. We're almost done with the studio.
100%.
I like this couch.
Okay, Raina.
I sat on our couch yesterday because it's unwrapped now and set up, and it wasn't as nice as this.
Okay, I've been meaning to ask you. I want to give an update to the listeners that Raina did paintings for her house, and they are stunning. And I was wondering if I could buy one. No, I was wondering if you maybe want to make me one for my birthday.
I was going to give you the one that you said that you liked, and then I was like, let me just, I've been like drinking at night and then doing my paintings, and you guys, they're epic.
It's the texturing.
It's texture paste. Liquitex makes it. You get it on Amazon or Blick or Michaels. But the one that you said you liked, I was like, it just needs like one more thing, and I did it, and now I hate it. And I think I'm going to scrap the whole painting and start over again.
Well, let me see it, because you weren't thrilled at first. You were like, I hate this project. I can't believe I did this. And then they turn out so well.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, and thank you. And it's been like a real journey. And basically, it was inspired because I wanted some really large wall art, and I went on Etsy and I like Googled large, just minimalist, like abstract art. And even like a 36 by 48 canvas with like a black stroke on it was like $800 to $1,000. And I was like, I could do this cheaper.
I know. We'll talk about it. But I was over on Sunday and I had this guy with me, and he just couldn't shut up about Raina's art. I was like, shut up.
Well, you should have stopped coming over. You came over. You guys, you don't understand. First, okay, I got to talk about Sunday. Sunday was crazy. I was just at home, minding my own business, looking ugly as can be. And Ashley showed up 3 times. She wouldn't stop coming over.
Oh, shut up.
And LA is like big. It's not like New York where you just like happen to be in somebody's neighborhood and you pop in. Like, it's not like a pop into someone's place kind of place. So you did ask me if I wanted to come to this thing with you.
Yeah.
And then, so I knew you were going to be in the neighborhood, and I was doing my paintings. And the first time you came over, it was so humiliating. I almost shit my pants.
I did text
You just
first.
walked in the door.
So people are probably like, what happened here? So I was hanging out with this guy. I mean, it's a friend, I guess. I don't know. We have a little bit of a history. We had gotten drinks earlier in the week. And so he was like, come hang out at this thing. It was like at this park.
I made this face because I don't know how you be just friends with someone who looks like that.
Well, if he's listening, I'm down to cross the line. We have crossed the line.
You've crossed the line.
So it was at this park, which was 0.2 miles from your place. So we're at this thing. It was really fun, but I had to pee, and there was no bathrooms there that I could find. So I was like, I'm just going to walk over to Raina. So I did say, hey, can I come over and pee? And then no answer. And I was like, I'm on the way. And then, so your gate was open and your door was open. And so I just walked in, and yes, you look like you're going to shit your pants.
It took me a minute to recover from that.
Yeah.
You left and I was still recovering from it.
And you looked like I've never seen you. You have such cute loungewear at home.
Saying,
Not on this day.
You were like, I've never seen you.
You look like a kid. Like you had this big Steelers t-shirt on and like old Girls Gotta Eat shorts, and you were just like painting. And they had these really good burgers at this thing. And so he and I left. I rode on the back of his bike. It was an electric bike, but it was like funny. I hopped in the back of the bike and I was like, let's go stop by Raina's. You can see Raina and like bring her a burger. So then I put a burger in my purse and I brought you over. And then he wanted to see the house and comment on your paintings. Raina's so great.
Well, you like, it's funny because you walked in. First of all, when you left the first time, you were like, I've never really seen you look like this before. So anyway. You showed up and it was really funny because you were like, these people outside want to talk to you. And he was laughing too. And you both were like, these people want to talk to you. And I was like, did you bring people from like the event you were at? And you both like were laughing. And so I was just like, did you like round up people else they could see what I looked like in this outfit.
Oh my
like
God.
that's what I thought. And then it happened to be this like couple that was like asking me about the house next door and did I know who lived there and could they rent it? My neighbor is so hot and I will never let somebody else move in there. I even texted him to be like, somebody was looking around your property.
Yeah, these creepy people. Don't talk to them. So we pull up in front of your house. We pull up on the bike and I see this couple right outside your gate, like clearly at your home trying to peek in. And it was a little awkward because we were coming inside your home and they were like, sorry, we just like really want to rent this house. And I was like, yeah, okay, it's already rented. You know, I was really nice, but I was like, my friend lives there. We're going in. And they were like, could we talk to her? And I was like, what?
You're like, these people want to talk to her.
And I was like, I guess I'll see if she's up for it. And so we walk in your house. I'm like, these people are outside. They want to talk to you. And you were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, go talk to them. They want to talk to you. And then you were out there for a while.
They asked me a lot of really personal questions. It jarred me a little bit because they asked me how much my rent is. And in New York, it's the first question you ask everybody. It never crossed my mind that that's weird, but it was sort of weird that these strangers showed up at my gate. And I was like, the home's on Zillow. You're welcome to look. And then they were like, do you know what the rent is next door? Because we saw XYZ on Zillow. And I was like, again, it's on Zillow. And then they asked me for the landlord's number.
That's
and I was
crazy.
like, I don't think he would really appreciate that. Also, I will never give you access to the house next door.
Yeah, we're going to keep that. Well, Raina, she has been talking about buying this house, which would make you that guy's landlord, which I am here for.
I would love that.
I would love it. I don't even know where we were.
Okay, so the second time you came over. Also, I will say, I'm always doing pretty embarrassing stuff in my house. It's my house. I'm always eating something gross or watching something embarrassing. And like the couple times you showed up, I just wasn't. I was just sitting on the floor painting.
You're painting. Yeah, it was super cute.
Okay, so you showed up the second time with him.
And then we left again. And then
you came back a third time with him.
Raina, you said you enjoyed hanging out. You poured me a glass of wine.
It was really
Don't
nice.
be acting like I was bothering you.
It was just, no one's ever showed up at my house 3 times in a day. It was so funny. Just popping in. It was nice. We hung out.
I know. I was like, can you drop me back off at Raina's again? I hopped on the back of the bike, rode over to Raina's. Yeah, so it was a funny weekend.
He's great. I'm rooting for it if you like him. I think he's really nice and cool, but we'll see. Very hot.
We're just friends. Yeah, super hot. We're just friends. I mean, you never know. But I wanted to say a couple things really quick. I'll keep this short. A couple weeks ago, we had this conversation about having friends, family members, partners, even with cancer. And I did talk about my friend. And I just wanted to acknowledge all the messages that we got. I got so many DMs. I've answered most of them. If I didn't answer, I'm sorry. But I was taking time each night to go through them and answer them. People sharing their stories, sharing stories of their friends and their partners, and even nurses and doctors saying that they really love the way we spoke about it, which is so kind and validating, and concern for our friend, of course, and emails and resources. And again, apologies if we didn't respond. We're getting through it, but just want to say thanks for that. And our friend has started treatment, and I've seen her, and she's in really high spirits, and we'll see how it goes. But that's all I can say. She's in a good place, like mentally, with moving forward with treatment and doing chemo and stuff like that. So I wanted to just say that. And thank you guys as always for reaching out to us and sharing your stories. And then I did want to talk a little bit about the tour. So I just want to tell people a couple things. So you may have kind of noticed, like, there's definitely more time between going to cities. Like, there's been about 2 years between like Atlanta, for example, Philly, and others. And then also there's been about 1.5 years between Chicago. And we don't go to these cities every year anymore. We haven't really done that for a little bit of time. And I just want to say that we probably won't be back to these cities for a couple years. Just the way that our tour has been working out. This isn't any new information, but I just want to make it clear that, like, if you're like, I'll see him next year, you won't. So get those tickets if that's like a motivation or you were wondering about it, especially if you're kind of new around here and you're like, oh, do they tour every year? We don't. So these cities that are coming up in May and even through the year, probably not. We wouldn't be back there for 2 or more years. So just something to keep in mind. And I just want to say that we know that there are astronomical criminal ticket fees, and we fucking hate it too. And I was in a conversation with someone about this on Sunday, and there is nothing we can do. Every artist, our hands are tied. We fucking hate it, and we know you hate it. And I just want to say that we try to keep our prices down because we know these fees, and then we see the fees tacked on top, and we're so livid And it's criminal. And we all know, and we know these companies, and there's been lawsuits and everything. Obviously, you know what happened with Taylor Swift is a different type of situation, but I just want to acknowledge it. It fucking sucks, and we're sorry, and we wish we could do something about it, and we can't.
Yeah, and we don't passively accept it either. We ask our agents to look into it. I mean, we are represented. I only say this so you know that we like contact the right people. We're represented by a huge agency, and we ask them to please look into it, and it doesn't matter. There's nothing anybody can do about it. And we appreciate that you guys spend the money that you do have to come see us.
Yeah.
So we try to keep the ticket prices low, and we understand that the fees are crazy.
Yeah.
So
and
we try.
It's just like, for fucking what? For what? And they're based on the price of the ticket now? Like, you have ticket fees upwards of $100 for the fee. Like, it keeps me up at night. I will say that. Like, this stuff, like, it boils my blood. And that's all I wanted to say. You're mad. We're mad too.
Yeah.
And
we don't like
you.
to have any problems we can't solve. It's not, we hate it. It's not something we're used to. We're just usually, we'll get to the bottom of anything, and we can't do anything.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're so excited to see you on the road, guys.
No, we can't wait.
Okay. I do want to ask you one question before we move on. It's an addendum to the showering at night or in the morning. I have another question.
Okay, so
I've been thinking about you.
Yeah,
so last week,
the big debate on showering at night versus the morning. The most divided that people are, the most that people are like, I'm right and you're wrong. You know what I mean? And it's split. Really, I didn't do the math, but it's really split down the middle. It's kind of crazy, but okay.
Well, we were being tagged in so much. At first, I saw like a couple comments that were like, Raina, that's so gross. And I was like, this hurt my feelings. And I saw equal amounts of people supporting both of us.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I got a text from this guy. He was like, that's gross. You can't sleep over now. I was like, I didn't even know it was on the table. I was like, I didn't even know it was on the table. I'll shower before.
What guy?
He also commented on the Instagram post. So
like, you'd sleep at his place anyway.
I know. I was like, do you know where I stay? We're staying at my place.
And you can sleep in the guest room.
So I wanted to ask you this question because I was just wondering this morning in the shower. Do you wash your legs in the shower?
This is such a funny question. I don't know that people...
Tessa perked up. She's staring directly at me, and we need your answer as well. Okay, do you wash your legs in the shower?
I get down in there.
Okay.
And then I shave, obviously. I feel like randomly my leg hair has been growing faster than normal. Maybe it's the Nutrafol. But showering is, we could do a whole episode on it because people get really divided over what you wash first, and it says something about you and all this stuff.
Okay, we got to break this down.
I don't know all the things, but like, do you wash your armpits first, your arms first, things like that? But I don't like scrub so hard. But yeah, I do wash my legs. Like, I do give them a touch with body wash or the washcloth or whatever. Unless you're, Lee Hesseltine, been working on the farm all day, greasy and dirty, I am fine if you don't take the time to wash your legs. The soap does kind of trickle down there, but the butthole is what matters. And guys are not washing their butthole enough.
I mean, the difference between lightly grazing the butthole and really getting in there there's a huge difference. I really got in there the other day, and I was like,
what'd you find?
Just toilet paper.
I did not think you were going to have an answer. That was rhetorical. Only Raina would answer a question like that.
All of you are thinking the same thing. Like, none of you had a little ball of toilet paper ever fall out of your butt while you're in the shower.
Oh my God.
I don't really wash my legs in the shower, but I shave most showers.
Oh, I realized this about you recently, that what you think are hairy legs are not at all.
That
like,
was insane.
your bar is so much lower than mine. Like, you'd be surprised the way I would leave the house some days, like wearing shorts, like with, I guess, what you consider hairy legs. But for me, it's just like 2-day stubble.
I've never seen you look hairy ever.
Yeah. Well, I did find a weird patch.
You did
over the weekend. I was like, has this ever been touched? I was like laying out at the pool, and I was like, oh my God, long hairs on the back of my leg, kind of close to the ankle. I was like, I've been missing that since I was 12. It was crazy to me.
It's really funny.
Oh, this is another thing that I have posted about and people are divided on is shaving your thighs, like your upper legs.
So this shocked me because I didn't know people just stopped at the knee. What are you talking about? People are just like, I've gone far enough. I'm just going to stop here. You're mid-job and you're like, I'm all set. By the way, also, your legs are twice as long as mine. So it's never crossed my mind because I'm 5 feet tall. It takes me 30. It's like shaving an arm for most people.
I don't do too much on the thighs.
I was shocked when you. My mom doesn't either.
A lot of people said they learned that from their moms.
My mom, not a thigh shaver.
It was like a meme at some point of like, why did my mom tell me to stop at the knee or something like that? But then like sometimes I like the hair because it hasn't gotten dark. It's like blonde on my thighs. All right.
You like having blonde hair on your legs. That's what you want. That's why you don't shave your thighs?
It's not long. I don't think you'd be like Ashley's hairy
blonde
thighs.
hair.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's kind of untouched. So the little bit of hair I might have on my thighs from time to time is like glistens in the sun. It's like golden.
Oh, it's okay. So it's like a little peach fuzzy. That's crazy to me. People just like get to the knee and they're like, I hit the joint. I'm done.
Let's do showering for the third week in the row next week. And let's talk about what you wash first.
Damn it. I want to do it now. Okay, we'll do it later.
We need to do some research. Because it just says something about you and I want to get it right.
Like, what are the options? And then we'll get it right. Like, are people starting like below waist? They're south of the belly button first.
I don't know. Have you ever been in the shower and like forgot or did something out of order and you're like, am I having a stroke? Like, have you ever been like, oh my God, I didn't? Because I have a whole routine. If I'm washing my hair, like when my conditioner's on my hair, I wash my body. You know, like while it sits for a minute.
Yeah.
Have you ever forgotten what you were doing and you're like, am I good?
I've forgotten to wash the conditioner out of the top of my head. And I just like didn't lean back. So it's just like at the top. And I'm like, ooh, I got out all greasy and you got to get back in.
I don't do conditioner on the top of my head. Like at the roots.
What do you mean? Where do you put it? Oh, because it's
I
like your scalp is
like
because scalps are oily.
Yeah, I don't do that. But sometimes do you ever get like a glob of conditioner in your ear?
No.
Oh,
I don't know as much hair as you. It's not as much.
It's like if you forget to get the ears and you're just like doing your makeup and you're like, what is in my ear?
You know why I don't? Because I do glob on top and I just, by the time I get to my ears, there's like nothing left.
Did you ever have a friend that just like takes so long in the shower? Like we had a friend in college and we would be like, what is she doing in there?
Like I'm fascinated. Like what? How do you take what I do and make it longer? Like any more than 5 minutes?
And she'd be like, yeah. And I forget what she said. We quoted her for years. She was like, I got a lot to do in there. It was really funny.
That is so funny. I do think about that. Like how have you taken a process I do every day of my life and doubled it?
I mean, I guess there's stuff to do in there. Like I do like to relax. I like a shower bomb.
You exfoliate?
I do exfoliate. Not every day, but I do Osea. Like salt scrub.
Do you face wash in the shower?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if I have makeup on, like I'm doing a night shower, like I mostly do, I use my makeup remover towel and do my whole. Yeah.
I take a little conditioner and put it on my eyes and it takes the mascara off in the shower.
Because Raina owns no skincare products. So she's out here just conditioner on her face.
Tessa is going to die. She's so grossed out.
Raina, I feel like I don't need to know anymore. I feel like if I keep hearing about what you do in the shower, I'm going to be like, who is she? She's like,
I do have
serial killer.
I do have skincare. Remember last year I like got really into skincare. I bought it all. I just got to start using it.
I have yet to see it.
It's on the counter.
Okay, all right. Let's take a break and then we will get right back into it. I am so excited to talk about StoryWorth. You guys know if we're doing a StoryWorth read, it's an important time of year. It's going to be your Mother's Day, Father's Day, around the holidays. So we really love to talk about this so much. And I have done this for both of my parents. So many people in my family have done it. My cousins have done it for their parents, my aunt and uncle. And we just love it so much. And it is the most perfect gift you can really get a parent or someone in your life that you want to preserve their memories. StoryWorth is offering $10 off your first purchase at storyworth.com/GGE. So it's this online service that helps you and your loved ones connect through sharing stories and memories. Every week, StoryWorth emails your mom, for example. We have Mother's Day coming up, so we have a Mother's Day show. Because it's the night before Mother's Day, DC and Cindy is going to be there.
Oh no.
Spoiler alert. My parents are coming to DC. Okay, so let's just take your mom, for example. Every week, StoryWorth is going to email your mom a thought-provoking question of your choice from a vast pool of possible options. Each unique prompt asks questions you've never thought of, like what matters to you most in life? What was your favorite vacation? Who are your favorite artists, musicians, museums, songs, etc.? And one that I really liked, I think it was, what did you do for your 30th birthday? And my mom was with my dad when she was 30. She hadn't had kids yet, but she was married to my dad. And so she wrote in the book of what my dad did for her. It was really special for me to read. And you can pick those. It can do them automatically, but if you don't like the question or it doesn't really apply to your family member, you can change the question, which I love too. So you can get in there and kind of control it. And then after 1 year, StoryWorth compiles all those questions and stories and photos. You have to send them photos into a beautiful keepsake book the whole family can share for generations. And I've said this before, but it's not like your standard photo book that you get off some photo site. It really is this beautiful book that you can sit down and read. And it's so, so special. I'm so big on memories and like nostalgia in the first place. And, you know, as your parents age, this is just something so nice. You'll have it forever, and any family member, but we really are focusing on Mother's Day. So do this for your mom and give all the moms in your life a meaningful gift you'll both cherish for years, StoryWorth. Right now, for a limited time, you'll save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/GGE. That's StoryWorth.com/GGE to save $10 on your first purchase. Storyworth.com/GGE.
Yes, and I'm really excited to talk about Buffy because it just outfits my entire house. Buffy makes award-winning bedding that is soft on you and soft on the earth. There's lots to choose from. So I have the Breeze comforter in both of my bedrooms, and I switched it up. I put different sheets in both rooms, but I also have their duvet covers. I just love everything they do, and there is some variety, but everything that they do is just, oh my God, it's so great. So the Breeze sheet set, I'm obsessed with it. It's very, very soft. It feels like you're sleeping in butter. It's very cool. It's really gentle on your skin because I like to sleep naked. And then the Breeze comforter also keeps you cool. So I have that in their duvet cover as well. Everything that they do is in my house. It's great for summer climates, hot sleepers, but it's not that warm here in LA right now, and I'm not a hot sleeper, and still it keeps me like really super comfortable. So whatever climate, honestly, I highly recommend it. And they have eucalyptus sheet sets, which are cool and hyperallergenic, and they're dyed using natural skin-safe botanicals. And I just wanted to know like more about what they're about. So I put those in my guest bedroom, and I slept in my guest bedroom last night just to like feel those sheets, because I also have a smaller mattress in there, and I think the king is a little big for me. I just missed a queen a little bit.
It's nice to test drive to different mattresses, bedding setups. You know, why not mix it up?
Yeah. So I have a guest bed, and I put the eucalyptus sheets on it. I love both of them. I don't know how to decide, but both of them are great. Whatever you guys decide to get, I'm just so happy to have them. And we'll give you guys a discount. Buffy offers a free 7-night at-home trial, so you can experience Buffy before committing to buying it. Shipping is free, and customers also enjoy a 100-night free returns policy. We'll give you guys a discount so you can check it out. For $20 off your Buffy order, visit buffy.co and enter GGE. That's buffy.co, promo code GGE for $20 off.
Okay, can I share a story that was so funny?
It's your show. Yeah.
That was so Rain and I were in the car this past weekend, like for an extended period of time. We were in like a little road trip situation. I really got to bond with my car for a while. Got to go above 90 miles an hour. It was nice. And we pull in... And we pull God damn it. We pull off this exit, and it's a sign that says, 76? It's a gas station, right? I pulled off the exit to get gas, and I pull off the exit, and we pull right in front of the gas station. I go, is that a gas station? Like,
I was really confused by the
because at first of all, I didn't see the pumps, and I was like, maybe it's a convenience store without a gas station. Like, whatever. I don't know. I literally pulled in front of a gas station and go, is that a gas station? And you were like, what? And then
you're not really like an out of it kind of person. You're like a ditzy person. So I was like, is she fucking with me?
And you go, yeah, there's gas there. Then we pull. I know, I've been laughing at this for so many days. We pull in, and there's this tree. There's like a tree, a full tree, and Raina goes,
it didn't look like a tree.
And she goes, is that a pineapple?
I'm so mad. I don't have a photo of this. I'm going to Google image this gas station.
Is that a pineapple? A tree, a full tree. She goes, is that a pineapple?
Right,
a giant
back
tree.
Me up. It looked like a pineapple. I was tripping out too, okay? It was a huge, like 10-foot tall pineapple. There was no indication that it wasn't a pineapple. Except that it was a tree.
I wish we had this recorded, because then you were like, I was like, what? It's a tree. And you were like, is that what a pineapple's like when it gets big? Is that a palm tree? I was like, what is she doing?
You don't know the answer either.
It was just a tree.
What do you mean it was a pineapple? Like, think about a pineapple and think about it being 100 times bigger than it normally is. And that was the tree. Okay, do you know what you sounded like?
My stomach hurts. I keep hearing, is that a pineapple in my head? It's so funny.
Do you remember when we were talking about that show that like will digitally image your brain and tell you which person in the world they can connect you with? And
you're the one
in the podcast recording, you thought it was real. And I was like, Ashley, that's the tone of like, you were like, what?
But then at the same time, I had just been like, is that a gas station? And then you were like, is that a pineapple? And literally right before that, Raina and I had been talking about when we were...
This is the funniest part.
Right before that, we've been talking about how when we were kids, we were in gifted and talented programs and we were in honors and we got pulled out of school. I mean, whatever. We were intelligent kids and I was in the gifted program. And so we're talking about
how high functioning we were.
Smart people. And then literally, is that a gas station? Wait, is that a pineapple? Like, I will not ever forget it.
I wish this was on. I forgot that was the conversation leading up to it. How we were both in gifted programs from being really young. Like, I was taken out of school on Mondays and sent to a gifted program.
Like, I was like, they could not accelerate me enough. Like, I was so high above my, like, reading level, grade level, and then we just fell from grace. It's so funny.
Oh, it looked like I wish I had a photo for you guys. It looked like a pineapple. The gas station really looked like a gas station. I feel like I need to Google image those.
Okay.
I'll find it. Okay, we got this email. I just want to like pitch you the topic and see like your thoughts on it because I just thought it was interesting. Okay, so she writes in, I'm not going to say her name, but she opened it up really beautifully. It was really nice. The title is How Many Rebound Hookups is Too Many Rebound Hookups? And then I'm going to give you some texture.
Okay.
For context, I left a 10-year relationship last April and I have been sexually deprived in that relationship for years. So I had gone on a bit of a bender. When I say bender, I mean I slept with 15 people in 12 months. So 10 years sexless, deprived. And then in last year, she slept with 15 people.
Okay.
Recently, a friend of mine made a comment to me about how I should practice more self-control and not sleep with guys after 1 or 2 dates. I'd love to hear that. She wasn't shaming me at all, but it did make me think. I'm curious what you both think about casual hookups and whether it really matters how many guys you hook up with in your thought girl era or not. I definitely want to find quote unquote my guy and know sex plays such a big role in relationships. So hookups have really helped me quickly confirm whether or not I want to continue talking to a guy or not. Do you have any personal quote unquote rules for hooking up with a guy, like not on a first night or separate one night stands for guys you are genuinely interested in? Anyways, would love your thoughts. So it's sort of 2 parts for me, like how many is too many when you're in your like thought girl moment?
None. The limit does not exist.
How long should you wait?
I mean, be safe, obviously, but none. Like, fuck someone every night if you want to. Like, this is about your goals and your intentions and patterns that you might be picking up on if you're doing something that you're unsure about. But if you want to do it, that's such bullshit to shame people. I mean, like, live your Samantha Jones life. I mean, I know that's a fictional character, but there's no limit if that's what you want to do, truly.
I totally agree.
And you shouldn't let people shame you for it. But if you want a relationship, maybe adjust your behavior. And I just say that in a way of all the things that happen when you have sex, you know, like it's nice to get to know someone before you fold that into the mix. Like there's no harm in waiting, but we don't have rules and don't have judgment around this. We just provide the information. And I know that people weren't totally thrilled with the previous episode we did with the male guest that we talked about this, but I think there's a lot to be said for if you want to waiting with someone that you do see a future with, because it does muddy the waters a little bit and how you both can feel about each other. But also, Brain and I both had successful relationships with people that we fucked in the first night, first date, second date, whatever. But this is like a mental check-in of, am I enjoying myself genuinely? Am I overcompensating for something? Because I felt like when I was really slutty, it was rooted in a insecurity of being a late bloomer and having all those years in high school where my friends were having sex and I wasn't, and feeling like I was behind and playing catch up, and also seeing such value in having a healthy, busy sex life and sleeping with guys and having the funny stories around it and just like being kind of different than your typical like Southern girl. Like if I look back, there was a lot in why I was so promiscuous. It wasn't necessarily always about orgasms or pleasure, you know what I mean? It was like other factors played a part. So all that is just checking in with yourself and why you're doing it. Are you actually enjoying it? But if you are, then you shouldn't be shamed. for fucking as many people as you want.
So many layers to this, right? And
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I think it just boils down to how do you feel about you in these moments? And are you doing this for validation? And she said I didn't feel like my friend was shaming me. I guess it depends on the tone.
sorry, yeah.
I mean, I would feel shamed if somebody was like, hey, this is kind of a lot of people. And I'd be like, no one asked you. But if you said to me, I just want to like check in with you and make sure that you're okay and that like you actually feel good about this because you don't seem to feel good about this. And I said that to a friend last summer. Or maybe like a year ago after a breakup, I thought she was just like knocking them down. It was a lot of guys. And I was like, are you all right? Like, I just meant it as like, are you having fun? Is this good for you? And I would never shame anybody. I think this girl, on top of the fact that I think you should be able to go out and fuck anybody you want after a breakup, she was like, I was in a 10-year, basically sexless relationship and probably really wants some sexual validation from the outside world at this point, where she was just like, I mean, to not really have a sexual relationship with your partner, like, you just feel rejected over and over and over again. And of course you want validation. And 15 people is 1 to 2 people a month. I mean, it's not really that many people.
I mean, I think I took the email and ran with it and talked about it big picture.
I think it's great.
Just so we're clear, I think I just am speaking on it as like a broader topic. But yeah, she said she didn't feel shamed. And I am with you. I guess I would just look at the signs and look if I saw a change in my friend. I mean, yeah, my friend was fucking somebody new every week. Like, I would start to really take a hard look at if I felt like he or she was happy, you know, because there is that of like, you're really just trying to fill a void. The same way it might be with binge drinking or something else. But those two aren't the same, just so we're clear. You know, sex is great.
I like what you said about checking in with yourself and like, how does this feel? And is this for my pleasure or what is this for? Because I've had some very slutty summers, especially in college, where I was just knocking them down, 5, 6, 7 guys like in a summer. And that was a lot for me. I mean, especially as like a 19, 20-year-old. And when I look back on it, I didn't feel bad about myself, but I wasn't really enjoying the sexual experiences either. Like, sex was so much more about somebody else's pleasure. And now I'm more of the ilk of like, I don't mind waiting a little bit if I like somebody. Like, I'll also fuck somebody on a first date. I don't care. But like, I've had so much sex in my life with so many people, and I'm at the point where like, I can just wait. I'm fine. There's no reason to not wait for me. I don't need to like jump into a sexual experience with somebody, but I have a lot, and it doesn't make me feel bad about myself. I just want to do what I feel good about in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, all these things are just things you have to consider, you know, if there are consequences and what those might be. This is just self-talk and self-reflection and considering all the factors at play. Do you live in a small town? Are you fucking everyone in the town? Do you plan to stay there? Or is it going to be weird if one day you're like, you find a guy and you fucked all his friends? I mean, again, this comes from no place of shaming, but you hear that too, where you're like, I wish someone would have brought to my attention that I've fucked every guy in this town or in this circle or on this sports team. And now it's a little weird for me, you know, and that has nothing to do with gender roles, by the way. Like, that's the same with men too. A guy that has fucked all your friends, you're probably not super interested. Yeah. You know what I mean? So just consider all the factors, but sex, like, done safely. I mean, and even going back to our last week's episode with Anna about field, you could have sex with a few people in a night even, you know, and that's fine. Like, it's all fine if you're happy and you're being safe.
And I like what she said, like, isn't this how you get to know if you want to date somebody? Isn't sex such an important part? And yeah, I think it's an important part. And when I really break it down, like 15 people in a year, if I'd been with somebody for 10 years and I was like, I'm going to go out and date, and once a month I sleep with the person that I'm on a date with, maybe this girl went on 30 days. I don't know, you know, and maybe she slept with less than half of them. I don't think that's so crazy.
Not at all.
You know?
Yeah. It doesn't even need to be like broken down. And, you know, I appreciate breaking it down in the numbers, but it also doesn't need to be. It's just like, it is what it is.
I totally agree. Yeah. Even if I didn't break it down, I don't care. If you feel good, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So how many is too many? How many you feel is too many? I don't know. It's just up to you. Just check in with yourself. And if you're happy, the limit does not exist.
Does not exist. Okay. I had a meme that I wanted to run by you and discuss. This really spoke to me. Okay. This was on Bustle. And the tweet was, I want more run errands with me friends. No, I do not want to spend $85 on a dinner to catch up, but I will go to Costco and an estate sale with you and then get some tacos. And I just kind of love this run errands friend. Like, I feel like it needs to be normalized. Like, we don't need to go sit at dinner and spend all this money. We can. I love to go to dinner, obviously. But it's funny to think about you have an errand to run, you ask your friend. I mean, that's what you do with like your best friends, you know, but I just kind of like that.
No, I like it too. Cause like, I think so many people actually are like, I need activities outside of drinking. And it's like run errands together. My friend Lindsay stayed with me a couple weeks ago and she did run errands with me. I was like, what do you want to do today? She's like, what do you have to do? I was like, I have to go to the craft store and a bunch of stuff. And she was like, great. And she ran errands with me.
We used to do that. You know, we need to get back to this. Like when you were in high school or college and then, you know, the summers between college, like Corey and I would drive around and do all of our errands. We'd be at the DMV, we'd be at Sam's Club, we'd have a car full of toilet paper and stuff. And we would just do all of our errands together. And those were like such fun bonding days.
It's a best friend activity for sure. Like it's not a new friend activity. Like if somebody in the newer scope of my friends asked me to run errands with them, I'd be like, what? No, absolutely not.
But like what kind of errand?
Also, it depends on the errand. Like Lindsay came with me to Home Goods, which was awesome, and helped me pick pillows and helped me pick art. And like I like also having somebody with me to be like, that's ugly, that's stupid, that's great, I love that. You know, I like a second opinion.
Well, that meme said estate sale. That's not necessarily an errand. That's just an activity outside of like sitting at dinner.
I love that.
Or even like a hike or something. We need to like normalize different random activities with your friends.
So funny. It really is just like a great activity outside of drinking. Yeah. All right, I love it. Okay, so one final thing I want to tell you about also ties into Chicago. I have longer drives in LA now, so I'm using it as an opportunity to listen to more podcasts. And I was listening to Deep D, our former guest and Love is Blind star. She has a new podcast called Out of the Pods with Natalie, who is on her season. And they have this great friendship, and they're just talking about Love is Blind. They've used this season to unpack the current season of Love is Blind. And also, spoiler, they're coming to the Chicago show. So
they'll be at the Chicago show. Get those last tickets.
Oh, I can't wait there.
Well, we met Deep D, but I'm excited to meet Natalie.
Well, I want you to listen to the podcast because I actually started with the most recent episode. They're recapping the live reunion on Netflix, which got so much flack because it was supposed to be live and then it wasn't. And they just said a lot of stuff that I thought was really interesting just about being on reality TV. One thing I thought was really interesting was she said that at the taping, no one's really opinion of Vanessa and how she acted was bad. That no one in the audience was like sweet to each other, and that like people like descended upon the internet and started saying how terrible she was, and then it was like this echo chamber, which I don't agree with.
That's interesting because I didn't really start to hate it until the baby stuff. But then I felt like it was cringe. Then yes, it got reinforced on the internet. Like there's that one clip where she's like, aha! And you're like, ew, right. That was weird. Like it does. It kind of reminds you. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that one?
Yes. Did you notice the part? And I'm not going to rip Vanessa to shreds, like, because I have another thing to tell you about this. But Nick was like, I have something to say. And she was like, ooh, daddy's going to talk now. And he like totally ignores
There's
it.
a lot of clips of Nick just looking at her like, what is she
like,
doing?
did she just ask me about chicken at the sea?
That's right. But that's interesting. Also the interview with Jackie and Josh. I was like, Vanessa, what the actual fuck? But anyway.
I thought it was cringe, but also, I don't remember if we talked about this last week, but what happened was that in editing, they made it look like Jackie, one of the characters in the show, had basically cheated on Marshall by going on a date with this other guy from the show. And it was heavily edited, and it turns out that was not true.
She said that.
Yeah, so Jackie came forward and said that was not true. So
they made it look like she went and met up with Josh while the other girls were wedding dress shopping. Yeah, I mean, it's editing.
Like, that is so dirty, by the way, to do to a person, to do to a woman, like, or a man, anybody, but it's so dirty to edit somebody to look like a scumbag, cheating, lying person when they did not do that.
Yeah, listen, I would never do it. Never sign up for it.
No, I would never sign up for it.
It's literally my nightmare.
Yes, and I actually, like, it really showed me to my core when I think it was Zach during the reunion said, like, we've all paid for our mistakes publicly. I don't need to, like, hammer anybody else here. We've been, like, really, really, like, harassed and vilified, whatever. So, but anyways, the other thing I thought was really interesting about this, I know the reunion was a couple weeks ago, it's old news, but Andy Cohen did this interview talking about how when he does a reunion special, they would never do it live because it's crazy because they have a time limit on a live one. So the live one was an hour. When he does one, it's 4 hours, and they edit it down to an hour. So he was saying, like, Vanessa and Nick didn't really get the opportunity to, like, ask questions and dig in and go deeper, whereas, like, he would have asked a million more questions because he has 3 more hours to play with. And I thought that was, like, interesting. I never really thought about it.
Well, at the base level, you get a ton of information and then pare it down to the best shit. Like, by nature, a live, that was 2.5 hours, 1.5 hours. The Love is Blind.
About an hour and a half.
Like, it won't be as exciting to the viewer if they had recorded for 4 fucking hours and then gave you the highlight reel. That's just what it is. You and I, very little editing because we're amazing every minute. No, I'm kidding. We come in with a plan and we go hard, but I'm totally joking. It's ish, maybe not.
But we're not doing live podcast recordings. I don't need live feedback in the moment of everything
also
I say. I'm all good.
That's not what we do. But yeah, it's a crazy thing to do. Like, I just wish we could have been at Netflix when these decisions were being made. And then other people, especially engineers, were like, guys, I don't know. I don't think that's going to work out.
I love that meme. That was like somewhere at Netflix, there's one engineer going like, I told you guys.
We have the bandwidth. But even people who were like, are y'all sure? Because I don't know. It's interesting. And I'm going to listen to that podcast for sure. I haven't had time, but because of how much I loved Back to the Beach with Kristen and Steven, I love a pulling back of the curtain on reality TV for a show that you watched every minute of.
I think it's just so fascinating. So, I mean, like, I'm really excited for you to listen to it. And it opens my eyes up, but it also reaffirms that I don't want to be on reality television. I don't want it. I could never be at a live taping where there's like instant feedback of everything you say, because these people are not like trained media people. Like, you and I are, and I still feel like we would step on landmines. And I think we're great at everything we do. But anyways, I thought the podcast was an interesting listen. It's interesting to listen to the two of them talk about it because they know all these people personally.
Right.
I texted her and I was like, you are so good at like being PC. And she's like, I still get shit from it. And I know all these people, but it's a good listen and it's fun. So check it out. You'll see them at our Chicago show if you guys come.
Okay. And I just wanted to say that yesterday, as we record, was Azul's Gotcha Day, April 24th, 2 years. Can you believe it?
I really can't.
2 years ago, he was my first foster dog after Dewey had passed a few months prior. And I was like, I'm not keeping this dog, man. And Raina was like, maybe you should consider it. And I was like, what?
I just think you're a dog girl, you know?
And he's truly the like love of my life. And anyway, so happy 2 years to Azul. 2 years of being the Girls Gotta Eat mascot.
He's just chilling.
He is chilling.
I feel like he's gotten progressively more cuddly. What do you feel like, besides his teeth, has changed the most since the day you got him?
His personality, he's so funny. Like when I was first fostering him, of course he was out of his environment and he wasn't going to be himself, but I was like, is he going to be funny? You know, like, is he going to
be funny? Like it's a boyfriend.
Like, is he going to have enough personality for me? And he has the most personality.
Oh,
and
that's so sweet.
Just his lifestyle has changed. I mean, I adopted him when he lived in New York, and then, I mean, he would have so much fun in Delaware, but he's really living his LA life, and we hike and he's great off leash, and I love his personality.
I think he's become extra super.
I think he's gotten
even
sweeter.
More sweeter. Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of Spanish words like azul, if you guys didn't know, it means blue in Spanish, and you would know that if you do Babbel.
Wow. That transition was crazy. Okay. Go on.
There is really no better time to do Babbel, especially as we're talking about summer trips abroad. This is your go-to travel hack, truly. So whether you're a seasoned traveler or you're embarking on your first adventure, communication is key. There is nothing worse. A lot of people are great with not knowing the language. I really get anxious with language barriers and communication breakdowns. And so it's so important to me to go to a place and know a little bit of the language. And I've used Babbel. I love their fun and easy bite-sized language lessons. And you really only need 10 minutes to complete a lesson. So don't look at this as maybe you learned a language in high school or college or even younger, middle school, and you're like, oh my God, it's so stressful and it's so hard and I have homework and all that stuff. This really is only 10 minutes to complete a full ass lesson. And they're expertly crafted. They're built around real life. You will learn how to have practical conversations about travel, relationships, business, and more. Over 150 language experts have contributed to it, and they're voiced by real native speakers, not computers. No AI over here, which it's like taking over the world, but this is still safe from AI. And their speech recognition technology, and of course, all your languages, 14 different languages, Spanish, French, German, whatever you're into. And there is a 20-day money-back guarantee, and you can really start your language learning journey today with Babbel. So right now, get up to 55% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/GGE. That's babbel.com/GGE for up to 55% off your subscription. BABBEL, Babbel, language for life.
Yes, and as Ashley mentioned, it's gonna be May. And this May, HelloFresh is celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Try limited time, authentic recipes. I know, doesn't that sound good? Created in partnership with Chef Serbi Sani of New York City's Tagmo restaurant, and enjoy a cultural taste tour right in your own kitchen. Flavor is in full bloom at HelloFresh. Enjoy the taste of spring with chef-crafted recipes featuring ripe, seasonal ingredients delivered right to your door. Go to HelloFresh.com/GGE16 and use code GGE16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. I mean, they make it such a pleasure. Everything is pre-portioned, so easy to cook. If you have no skill level at all, it will really teach you to love to cook. And if you have a high skill level, I think you'll love every one of these recipes and find them creative and interesting and fun. It's good for date night. It's good for having friends over. This spring, we're entertaining more. Invite your friends over. They have fit and wholesome meals, pescatarian, vegetarian. If you want meat, they got tons of options. They got lunch options.
Okay, so last night I had my tagine, apricot, almond, and chickpea tagine. I've made this with zucchini, basmati rice, and chermoula. Did I say any of those words?
Chermoula. Yeah, and you said everything else right.
Okay, this is one of my favorite meals. I've lost track of how many times I've cooked it. If it's on the menu, I do get it. And then I thought to myself, would you call a veggie tagine a vagine? So anyway, guys, get the vagine.
You can't steal that HelloFresh. That's hers.
They're like, we're not going to do it.
Like, we're going to put it also.
And look at this, Raina, what I'm going to make later this week. Tuna sandwiches.
Wait, that looks so bomb.
Doesn't look so good. And then I have triple mushroom, truffle penne, and my one
truffle.
pot turkey cannellini kale soup, which will feed me for like 3 days.
Whatever you choose, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
Is that a pineapple?
Is that a gas station?
Okay.
Anyways, it's cheaper than going out, cheaper than groceries. You guys are going to love cooking it. And the website and the app are so easy to use. So check it out. We'll give you a discount. Go to HelloFresh.com/GGE16 and use the code GGE16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right, guys, we are so excited for this topic and this guest today. She is a GYN, but more specifically a pelvic pain specialist. In 2022, she was named a recipient of New York Super Doctors, which is a prestigious accolade awarded to leaders in the medical excellence field. She is the author of Dr. Sonia's Guide to Navigating Pelvic Pain. She has been in Cosmo, Bustle, Huffington Post, Women's Health, all over. We are so excited to have her today. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Sonia Bahlani.
Oh my God, what an introduction. Thank you. I love that.
Raina, I love that you said GYN instead of gynecologist. Like you just, because Raina
said you would OB-GYN and she said GYN and I was like, I've never heard that before.
But it just means gynecologist. It's funny that you kind of took it and did GYN. People are like, what's a GYN? Because you usually only hear them as OB-GYN.
Right.
Raina's just abbreviating these.
Everyone's like Googling GYN.
I almost did a quick Google of it and I deleted the OB. I was
See, this is what I'm talking about. Technical. Just tell me.
No. Yeah, Raina knows what a gynecologist is. She got tripped up.
I haven't been to one in a minute, but no, I'm just kidding. I go all the time.
I go all the time.
Possible.
Giving you a look like.
Okay, we're so happy to have you. Raina was telling me you're away from your kids for the first time in a while.
I am, and it's like the best thing ever. I mean, I'm like having the best time living my single LA life. I still love my husband and my kids.
I love the disclaimer. People always, I love my kids. Whenever people say something like that, they're like, I love my kids, I swear. Well, welcome and welcome to LA. You live in New York.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was a great reason to come out here. I'm excited about it.
So you came up on an episode, I think in November 2022, of Vanessa Marin, who's a sex psychotherapist who we love, mentioned you, and she's like, you got to have her on. Oh. And people have been dying for this topic.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we've been blue balling them for months. Like we've been nonstop. When's the pelvic pain episode? My pussy hurts. Like people just, like I need to get this information. So we're really excited to finally do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is God's work that you guys are doing because no one talks about this. Like I promise you, patients come into my office and they're like, I didn't know where to find you, or I didn't even know I was having this because no one talks about it. So these type of episodes are the most important thing because the topic is so stigmatized, you know what I mean? And no one does talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that we'll talk about this today, but like so many people are like, is this a problem? Is it chronic? Or is it just being alive? Or is my boyfriend's dick just so huge and like good for him? Like, what is this? So we're excited to talk about that with you. So why pelvic pain specifically? Because you were an OB-GYN.
No, just GYN.
You're a GYN now, but you went directly into pelvic pain specifically. So why that?
So when I was doing my residency, I was working with this guy at New York Presbyterian who was doing only what's called vulvodynia work. So he was only working with patients who had vaginal pain. And when I was working with him, I saw that these patients were also having urological symptoms. And so they were being kind of tossed around from GYN to urologist to physical therapist to psychiatrist. And they had no clue where to go or how to seek help because this topic was just not talked about. So I thought it was a great niche to enter into because medicine is so compartmentalized, as I'm sure you guys see like in your own world. So this way I was able to treat patients more holistically, and it's been a great journey so far. I love it.
Okay. So how common is pelvic pain?
The data suggests that 1 in 4 people will experience pelvic pain at some point in their lives. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I think that number is drastically underrated. Because of how stigmatized the topic is, most people don't seek care. So if you look at some of like the newer data, it suggests anywhere between 25 to 73% of patients. That's a crazy high number at some point in their lives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's not just like you have it forever, but at some point in a woman's life, they are going to experience some sort of pelvic pain.
And when we say pelvic pain, do we mean anything in the region, or are we more talking about it feels like it's internal? Like we're not talking about like cramps and PMS symptoms really, or what are we talking about? Because I don't suffer from it. I feel for anyone who does, but it's not something I have really experienced with the occasional huge dick situation, not enough lube.
Which we should talk about because that's part of this. But no, it's a great point. So people, when they think of pain, think of like drastic, sharp pain, but that's not always the case. I mean, you can have things like urinary symptoms, like frequency and urgency, that falls into the category of pelvic pain. I always tell patients, the absence of pain is not pleasure. So you don't have to just have pain with sex to not experience sexual dysfunction or issues with sex, because if you're not experiencing pleasure with sex, then that's an issue as well. You know what I mean? So in terms of pelvic pain, it can be kind of categorized throughout this. Some patients have difficulty sitting. They have pain when they sit for long periods of time. It could be pain with bowel movements. I mean, you see kind of like the large spectrum of stuff that can happen, which is why it's so kind of cohesive, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, people ask like, when do I seek medical attention? There was questions about like physical versus mental and chronic versus temporary. Like if you feel like this is just temporary, do you suggest seeking medical help? Are there things before going to a doctor?
So I definitely suggest seeking medical help. If it happens one time, you can say, okay, was that chalked up to, was I not feeling well? Was I less lubricated? Was there an issue with positioning? But if it's happening more consistently, where you say, every time I try doggy style, I'm noticing I'm having pain, then that's an issue, right? Because you don't want to have sex in only one position or only one way. You want to be able to have sex any way you want to have sex. So I think the answer is in the nuances, is essentially what I'm saying. I think that it's really easy to chalk this issue up and say it's no big deal, because that's kind of how society has taught us to be, right? Like, oh, it's just pain with sex. I mean, it's fine. You can walk, you can talk, you don't have cancer, right? I mean, like that's kind of how we deal with this issue. Right. But it's really not fair, because those symptoms, when they start, can actually worsen. And they can actually worsen again after years and years. So I see some patients in their 60s who are like, I've had this since my 20s. In my 20s, I thought it was no big deal because I was just told it's like, oh, you're fine, have a glass of wine before sex. And now I'm in my 60s and I can't have penetrative intercourse.
Oh my gosh.
Like chills me.
No, I don't want to scare anyone.
No,
but
it's helpful. Important. What do patients describe the pain as? Is it like internal, like bruising? Or, I mean, there's a whole thing of you feel like you have to pee. That's probably something different. But like, how do they describe the pain?
So that's such a good point. So having to pee is actually related to this. Okay. So I like to divide it up in my head as pain with initial penetration, pain with deep penetration, or both, okay? Because if you think about it like that, you can kind of think about what your triggers are or what the causes are, and it separates it out a little bit. And then I know we can talk about timeline, because some people have more pain right before their period or when they're ovulating. So there's so many different factors that play a role. So pain with sex can be anything like a sensation of discomfort with initial penetration that's like sharp, that's burning, that's stinging, that's itching even, where they think they have like some sort of infection. It could be pain with deeper penetration, so they notice certain positions are just not possible, or when they have sex in certain positions after the fact, they're really sore.
Okay. I'm glad that you divided those things, because a couple people asked, I have a lot of pain when I'm getting fingered, but not during penetrative sex. And I was like, like why would that be?
And that is such a good point, because people will say that, and then they'll also say, I have pain when I place a tampon or when I'm getting fingered, but not when I'm having deep penetrative intercourse, because the cause is very different.
What's the cause? I don't want to jump ahead.
No, I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah.
So we don't realize, but we have 70,000 to 100,000 nerve endings in our vestibule. That's the entrance to the vagina.
Our vestibule.
I'm going to use that.
I know.
In my dirty talk. I like, get inside this vestibule.
What are the outer doors of the vestibule and the inner doors?
Right.
It's like the vagina. It's right. It's true. That's anatomically
Very
correct.
funny. It's like when it's cold in New York and they put the thing.
That's how
the restaurant.
Yeah, the best. Now I'm never going to think about it the same way again. But you know what? It's kind of true.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, that it's a fact. So there are 70 to 100,000 nerve endings there. Why is that important? Well, it's important because if some patients genetically are born with more nerve endings in the area, they can have issues with placing tampons even at a young age. They can have issues with initial penetration and pain. But we don't realize that nerves also can regrow in this area. So for patients who have recurrent UTIs, recurrent BV, recurrent yeast, any type of inflammatory process, what's our body trying to do? It's trying to tell us, oh, there's something wrong, so the nerves start firing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you mentioned also around your period, and that is when I do feel more tenderness down there. Like even just, I would never get a bikini wax a few days before I'm about to start. Well, I don't get periods anymore. I decided to opt out of that life. But
a lot of people
birth
do.
control pills all the way
She
through.
unsubscribed in the email. Yeah.
I know. I told
I love it.
Favor. I was like, send me 17 bucks of birth control. I need to stock up for the year.
They sent her an email back that said you've been unsubscribed.
Yeah. But back when I got periods, that tenderness, this is not a hot take, but even if someone's listening and they're like, why is my vagina always hurt or my vulva close to my period? That's just like a normal
Everybody
thing
asks.
there. Oh, okay.
Tons of people.
Let's talk about that then before we move on.
So this is also twofold. So whenever that happens, what's everyone's first answer? Hormones, right? You're like, oh, my hormones are changing during that time, so that's exactly why I'm having pain. And while that's true, there's actually a change in what we call, now you guys are going to find a joke with this, which I love, inflammatory cytokines. So essentially inflammation in our bodies in that area, okay? That is actually what causes the discomfort right before your period or during your period.
Oh.
And that's why you can take continuous birth control, and even though your hormones are kind of staying the same, that inflammation is not changing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned, it's like you think you know what your period is. And then
You've been on
I'm
it.
just now found out like so much information in the last year from the guests we've had on the show.
Yeah.
Well,
Always
what your
learning.
clit is. I have so much information about what a clit
Raina
is.
just found her
it's
clit.
everywhere. Your clit is everywhere.
And how many nerve endings are on the
Oh my
clit?
gosh,
I mean,
so
it's
many.
insane.
So if you are just experiencing pain during sex on your period, is there anything you can do, or that's just kind of like is what it is?
There's a couple of things that you can do. So number one, when you have pain with sex on your period, lubrication's not always the issue then, right? Because you're lubricated due to period blood, like if you're having sex on your period. What's often the issue is inflammation in the area. So certain types of positioning is really helpful during your period.
Okay.
Certain types of exercises too. Now I'm going to sound kind of hokey, and it's not just because I'm here in LA. There's like actually data behind this, but doing things like certain stretching exercises to lengthen the pelvic floor prior to sex during those time periods can actually be helpful. Things like happy baby. I know I'm sounding like, but it actually works beautifully. I promise you, every single time. But it's why some people who really have a lot more pain have to use things like dilators or do pelvic floor physical therapy and stuff like that.
Okay, so let's remove the period menstruation cycle out of it and just general pain. Like what are the causes of this? And we can go through them one by one. If people are listening, is there a way to kind of guide them into the direction of what might be their issue? However you want to come at this.
So let's come at it from kind of what we talked about before, kind of spreading it apart into different categories, okay? So sex is a combination of three things. So in the medical world, we say biopsychosocial. So it's a combination of biology or physiology. So basically, anatomically, how do our bodies work? How do the muscles work? How do the nerves work? How do the hormones work? So that's the physiologic aspect of it, which if something's off in that aspect, it can cause things like pain during initial penetration. So there's too many nerves or the muscles are spasming in the area. So what we call that in medicine is something known as vulvodynia or pelvic floor dysfunction, okay? And then the other aspect of that is there a change in hormones in the area? So we talked about birth control and how it works really great for you. There's some patients where they're on birth control and it actually causes them to mimic a postmenopausal state in the vagina. They start to get micro tears. They can get a little bit of bleeding during sex. It all depends on how our bodies are functioning. But it's really interesting because you do have this subset of people that are going to get on birth control and they're going to say 6 months later, I'm having all of this pain during initial penetration. And it's because scientifically you're increasing your sex hormone binding globulin, you're decreasing your free testosterone. If you decrease testosterone grown in the area, you're going to have micro tears.
So when you say micro tears, I noticed when I went on birth control, the pill, I became actually like more wet all the time. But some people you're saying have the opposite reaction and they can't produce as much.
Exactly. Exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. Have
And
you
then
ever noticed that?
Girl, I wouldn't know.
More or less
At
on
this
birth
point,
control?
been on it my whole life.
Been juicy your whole life.
No, I've just been on birth control.
Yeah, the pill makes me juicier.
But I'm saying I have been on the pill since the beginning of time.
Got it.
So.
Okay.
And it's so interesting, right? Because I always get this question in my office, like, why do some people respond so differently to birth control? Like, some people are like, I love my birth control. I'm never getting off. It's the best thing. And other people are like, I went on birth control for 6 months and I'm never going back on it again. We don't know the answer to that, but we believe there's some sort of genetic predisposition. So for some reason, our genes work differently with certain types of birth control.
Okay.
So that's the bio part. Okay. There's always a psychological issue with sex, meaning that our mind and our bodies are connected, right? So have you ever been super stressed out and you're just kind of like, meh, I'm not in the mood when I'm stressed out to have sex? It's not all just in your head. There's actually an increase in cortisol that can actually increase inflammatory cytokines in the pelvic floor that can make you not lubricated and not want to have sex. So it's kind of like understanding that mind-body connection there. You know what I mean? And then the third is social. I mean, this is kind of the stuff that I was listening to on your podcast, which I love, which is the nature versus nurture kind of a thing. The sexy pictures, the understanding what being orgasmic kind of is. You know what I mean? And so it's a combination of these three things that we look at when we're evaluating sexual function.
Okay. I think this like mental versus physical thing is really interesting to me. And a few people had asked that and I was like, is this a thing? I put it in our notes for you.
Yeah.
Like if it could really be just mental. And I was sort of wondering about that.
So I'm going to say this really lightly because it can be mental in the sense that it's not all in your head, right? But have you ever seen that certain people will go on antidepressants and it affects their sex drive? Because it affects the serotonin, it affects your dopamine, it affects your arousal, like how much you want to have sex.
Most people I've known, I feel like you hear that.
Yeah.
And so there is that kind of mind-body connection we have to keep in mind always. The caveat to all of that is that I see this all the time when women walk into our office and they say, I haven't wanted to have sex. As clinicians, or as physicians, a lot of people are like, it's all in your head. You're just, oh my God, you should see. And it's great. Sex therapists are amazing. But to give that as the only line of treatment for people is just not fair. You know what I mean? Because there are so many other things that are playing a role at the same time. So I think in most cases, it's a combination of the mind and the body. There's a physiologic response and there's a mental response, and they occur together, and that's kind of what causes this.
Okay. And are there actual conditions that cause pain during sex?
Yes. And I'll put it together for you because I don't know if that last part made sense, but I think if I say it this way, it's going to make total sense. So if someone has what's called pelvic floor dysfunction, it's when the muscles of their pelvic floor contract without them having control over it. Okay. So think about having penetrative intercourse. Think about putting something into the vagina and now the muscles of the vagina are spasming around whatever, whether it's a toy, whether it's a penis, whatever, okay? The muscles of the vagina start spasming around that. That spasming is not comfortable for anyone. So it's not going to be like, oh, that feels good. It's going to be like, oh, that feels like so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then what do you do psychologically when something feels uncomfortable? Have you ever been stressed and clenched your jaw? Like,
Right. You could just make it worse.
You make it worse. So then what do? You clench your pelvic floor. And then what happens? It clenches even further and it causes more pain.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? So that's one thing. So pelvic floor dysfunction is one of the biggest, I would say 80% of patients who have painful sex have pelvic floor dysfunction.
Oh.
And where does that come from? Is this a genetic thing? Like, how do we categorize it as treatment?
It's such a great question. The true answer is that we don't know. I mean, there's just not enough data to determine it. But here's what I can say. I can say that it is probably one of the most misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed entities because a lot of patients with pelvic floor dysfunction don't present with pain. They can actually present with urological symptoms. So this is going back to what you were talking about before. If someone can have sex and they can say after, I had to pee like 5 times after I had sex. Oh my God, I just had to go. I had to go. I felt like I wasn't emptying. I don't know. But it went away and now I'm fine. That's the pelvic floor spasming after orgasm.
Oh, wow.
So the bladder's contracting, the pelvic floor is spasming. You're not completely emptying. You're leaving a little bit of urine in your bladder and you gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta go.
Okay.
Over time, that can manifest itself as pain with intercourse.
So what do we do if this is such a huge amount of people? Like, what's the therapy for this?
I think number one is having conversations like this where people can actually try to understand that this is something that they should seek help for. Do you know what I mean? Because I think most of the time we're just ignoring it. One of the biggest things that's super helpful for this is pelvic floor physical therapy. It's not that you always need medication, although I'm like a physician who does do medication and procedures. A lot of times the first step is pelvic floor physical therapy, retraining that area of your body. It's also why a lot of people will have this after they have kids. They say, I never had any issues before. What happened after? Well, there was this whole neuromuscular change.
Yeah, a lot happened.
Yeah, a lot.
Happened. A lot of stuff.
On so many levels.
Came through there.
Yeah, right.
I need a medical degree to diagnose that.
Yeah, what changed down here after I had my kid?
Girl, squeeze the watermelon out of it.
A head came through it.
But okay, so then take that for a second. So funny, right? But then how come certain people can say with larger penis sizes, they feel pain? If you could have an entire head come through your vagina, right?
Yeah.
Why does bigger dick cause you to have pain?
I want to talk about it.
Okay, so let's talk about big dicks. Because I have said before, because I've Googled this, how the vagina is how many inches? It's like 5 inches deep.
It can be. It can be even
5
longer
to
than
7
that.
or whatever. But
Exactly.
so
5 to 7. It can change, right?
you talk about a 9-inch penis, like it doesn't actually
Like, where does it go?
fit. And that's kind of our thing of you joke about wanting this massive dick, but you really don't. Well, personally, we really don't, because it's not that fun and it's hard to get into different positions and forget doggy. I mean, it's just tough.
And why can some people like take it and others can't?
Well, because we have different sizes vaginas, right?
Different size vaginas, but it's really about the muscles and the nerves surrounding the vagina.
Okay.
Because our vaginal canals, you're absolutely correct, are somewhere around 5 to 7, right? Like that's in general, unless you have like cervical stenosis or something like that. But what controls the size of our vaginal canals? It's the muscles surrounding that area. So if we have muscles that are tighter, it's going to be way more difficult to get a larger size penis inside. If we have muscles that are more relaxed or released, it's a little bit more easier. Do you see what I'm saying? And so a lot of times with patients, I'll have patients come into my office and they'll say, I really want to be with my partner, but he's got a really big dick and I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. And there's a whole level of like wanting to make this work, right? And so oftentimes with that, we do a lot of pelvic floor physical therapy. You guys are going to think I'm crazy. Other things we do, utilize things like Valium suppositories that help to release the area. We do things like a Botox to help to keep the muscles released.
We had an anal episode recently, and a lot of the same, because muscles and
Exactly
working
the same.
them out.
Yeah.
I had an ex who had a particularly huge dick. But I will also say that like not a lot of foreplay in that relationship. Not a lot of like warming me up, making sure like I was ready. Like it was just a lot of like he's up and it's ready to go in. And
Which
like,
is an issue.
Yeah.
You know?
Why is an ex?
Yeah, exactly. Which is an issue.
I'm extremely attracted to this person. I like having sex with him, but there was just definitely like not a lot of like buildup. So I am assuming that helps. I mean, that's why we smoke weed and we can like masturbate longer and it just feels better.
Are you going to go down a slide without any water on it?
Right.
No.
Totally.
Like, why are you going to have sex without some foreplay? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, absolutely. And that's so true about so many different relationships. So even though he was well endowed, so to speak, even if he wasn't, and you're just going straight to it, you could be like, oh, that felt so dry, or there was some like initial pain. You know, it makes total sense.
Right. Okay.
So do you have women that come in, and I could see this in myself as even younger, maybe we just aren't sure how everything's really supposed to go. Hopefully our podcast helps with that. That it really is just a lubrication, that it's really, there hasn't been foreplay. You might be younger and not really understand how important that is. And it's kind of like, let's talk about lube and send you on your way. Is that a common occurrence?
So yes and no. So I will say that we're understanding a lot more about the vaginal pH these days and what we call the microbiome in the vagina. So there are healthy bugs that live in our vagina that promote the growth of even healthier bugs that help to prevent yeast, that help to prevent UTIs. Lubricants are really important because they allow for us to normalize the vaginal pH during sex, right? Depending on the type of lubricant. But there are certain cases where, I mean, I tell my patients who are like 18, use lube. enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's there for a reason. Have fun. Like, I think there's like this whole, again, like social stigma that like if you need lube, you're not wet enough. And that's not true. You know what I mean? Like, use lube. Have fun with
Especially
it.
like around 2 or 3.
Yeah.
As you get older, especially.
When I'm drinking?
You're drinking.
When you're drinking too. I mean, drinking, of course, right? Like,
It doesn't just all night long. It's not a waterfall down there. Like the first time I'm great. And then the second time we might need a little help.
And I tell my 17, I'm like, use lube. Don't shy away from it. This is good stuff. You know what I mean? So sometimes I think lube is helpful. But I think part of the problem is too, that's almost the only answer a lot of people get, which I think is the unfair part.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just like kind of that whole have a glass of wine before sex thing where you're like, that's not okay.
Okay. So before we get to like more chronic things like PCOS and endometriosis, like if you have pelvic floor dysfunction other than lube and wine, are there like positions and ways that like you could make this better for yourself?
I want to talk about that. I'm just a little curious if you touch on a little bit what these exercises look like. Like you mentioned a happy baby before, but like I'm just out of curiosity. And is there stuff we can just do at home or?
There is stuff we can do at home. So, you know, if anyone's listening and wants to Google it, I would Google hip opener exercises. What you want to do is open the hips up and lengthen the pelvic floor musculature. So even doing things like the butterfly pose, happy baby, pigeon, anything that's opening up that area. Okay. Some people may even notice, I have a lot of patients who are like CrossFitters or they're like bikers, and they notice that after long periods of time of lifting heavy weights or riding bikes, they start to experience pain with intercourse. Yeah. And it's because they sit in a contracted position for long periods of time. And we actually call pelvic floor dysfunction a disease of COVID because during COVID, what was everyone doing? Sitting at their computers the whole time. I mean, the amount of new patients I saw after and during COVID was like starkly different, you know?
Wow.
So we do this kind of stuff to our own bodies, not realizing it, I think is part of the point. And by the way, I don't think having a glass of wine before sex is the answer at all. You know what I mean? But I think it's the most given thing that people say, and I think it's actually minimizes the situation rather than treating it. But yeah, so with pelvic floor dysfunction, I think those are some of the best exercises that we can do where we can open up that pelvic floor.
I mean, just yoga in general. Like if you're into that. Like
yoga in general is great.
Yeah.
Other things you can do if you're having more severe discomfort is looking up things like dilators and wands. So there are actual tools that have been created to release the pelvic floor at home. Okay. So I have patients who come to my office from like Minnesota. They don't have pelvic floor physical therapists in Minnesota. It's kind of a newer thing, you know? And so I actually have to go through the tools with them in the office. I say, bring in a bunch of dilators, bring in your vibrator, you know? Like people don't know how to use certain things. We act like these tools just need to be there and everyone needs to know how to use them.
Absolutely. I want to close the loop on the yoga thing you said, because on TikTok, there's quite a few people that teach yoga for better sex. I'm trying to get them on our app to make some videos. But if you go on TikTok and you look up yoga for better sex, it's really like a thing.
I mean, yoga's a thing for so many reasons. Like number one, just lengthening of the area, right? That's number one, the neuromuscular changes. But number two, yoga decreases cortisol. It decreases your blood pressure. It activates that parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest, not flight and flight. It's on so many levels. It's helpful. Like, I know I sound like ridiculous, but it really, really is.
I mean, it's really like the most I do just outside of even a class, just at home on my own yoga mat is opening that just because I cycle too. So I hate that feeling of when I get off the bike and I'm tight, my legs are tight together. Like I lay on the floor, butterflied on my back for quite some time. I love to lay on the floor. Like I can't imagine not doing that post it's cycling or whatever it is.
It's the smartest thing you can do. There's so many people who don't do that, but it is so important to balance that out with that. Because, I mean, I have pro cyclists in my office, and if I told them they can't ride a bike again, they'd walk out. They'd be like, no way, I'm not coming here, you know? But, and so sometimes even it's the most basic stuff that I'm going over. They're like, I never thought about that. You know, like, yeah.
You're in the yoga class. Well, you brought up vibrators. We brought you a vibrator, by the way. But I wanted to, let's talk about the kind of like vibrators you would suggest.
So, like, I am a big fan of experimenting with different sizes, different materials, different things like that, because everyone has their own kind of like way that they like things done. I also don't like patients to like overuse vibrators. Have you ever heard of this? Like where they're like, I know I've seen it on TikTok too, but maybe it shows up on my TikTok because I like look these things up, but where people will overuse a vibrator on their clit and then they have chronic sensation that they are orgasming on their clit.
Overuse.
Yeah. Like, so
because we have a vibrator line, so we want to toe the line on this.
Yeah.
Well, so Dr. Ian Kerner has been on our show, and he's an amazing sex psychotherapist. He talked about like you can't get addicted to your vibrator, but you should like vary the types of stimulation because you can just
that's what I'm saying.
Depend upon it so much.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, even Rain and I, we have a sex toy line, and we still are like, take a break, use your hand, or have sex with a partner. Like anything too much.
But sex toys are so important too, you know, especially for patients with pain. I always encourage all patients who experience any type of discomfort to look at sex toys because it's a great thing to add to their armamentarium. I know that was a weird word to use in that situation. Armamentarium.
What is that?
Like their toolbox.
An armamentarium.
I like
God.
And then I was like, why did I just
I love that word. We can do something with that.
But it's true. You want to have all the tools, right? Like, especially like as you're gearing up, if you have discomfort, you want to try your sex toys first. And then maybe you want to get a little bit wetter. You want to start some lubricants. You want to have more deeper penetrative intercourse.
Okay. And what kind of positions? If you're like, there's just some people that like doggy's off the table for me.
Yeah.
But let's talk about positions.
And I hear that a lot too. So for patients that are in actual exquisite pain, the first position that I tell them to try when they're ready is to be on top. The reason that I say that is because when you're on top, you're in control. Mm-hmm. Whether you realize it or not, you know which muscles are spasming. I know it sounds like, but you will know. Okay.
No, we are with this.
Yeah.
Same with anal even. We were surprised to hear that was what he recommended. So
it's
you can
so
control your own body.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can control the depth of penetration. You can control which muscles of the levator complex are really being hit during that time. So that's the first position that I think is super helpful. A lot of people find missionary or modified missionary to be more comfortable, you know, like a little pillow under the butt during missionary because it releases that pelvic floor. So that's oftentimes helpful.
Oh, okay.
Because that helps to like lengthen it.
Right.
Other positions that I think are super helpful are side lying. You know, like side to side, because especially if doggy style is like not in your repertoire to start, you kind of want to start from side to side to help slide in and slide out, but also those muscles are more released during that time.
Yeah, and I feel much more in control if we're both on our side. Like I'm thrusting as opposed to just somebody being on top of me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a missionary. I mean, that's the least control you have. Well, I guess doggy's the same, but you know, someone's like, "What are you going to do? Push them off?" Like, but I like the pillow, like just under
your
tailbone.
butt. Yeah, under your tailbone, exactly. Okay. So you lift up your pelvic floor a little bit, so it lengthens.
We're working on a sex pillow.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's so and that's also necessary. And I don't know what this position is called. You guys will know. Like where you sit on the edge, like like you can sit on the edge or the partner sits on the edge and then you're like at the edge of the bed. That also helps to release your pelvic floor. I don't know what that's
I was
called.
just thinking of sitting on somebody when they're sitting.
And that's a good one too.
They could be sitting in like a chair even. Like something depends on your like strength and your, you know, legs and whatnot. You just start sometimes like plop down.
It's my best orgasm.
Same.
Man sitting, I am straddling.
Straddling. That's a good word.
Yeah. Yes. I am straddling. It's my hardest.
You just love the couch. You're a
I
big couch.
On the couch. I masturbate on the couch.
Your couch, I saw the other day. It's got some stains on it.
I hooked up with that prostitute on the couch.
Wait, story time?
There was no
my butt was on it. Listen, if you know, you know.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
What about, because I feel like reverse cowgirl could be a good alternative to doggy because you are fully in control of that.
Exactly.
That's a good call.
That's a really good position as well, definitely, to give you more control, but then also to help how deep you're actually having penetration go. You're a little bit more control in that situation.
So let's talk about, okay, it's not like pelvic floor dysfunction. It's something a little more chronic like PCOS or endometriosis. And maybe we define what those are.
Yeah.
What to do.
So what it's called is polycystic ovarian syndrome, okay? And so that's when there are cysts on the ovaries, and the cysts on the ovaries can create a state of hormonal changes in patients that can vary anywhere from missing periods to irregular periods to hair growth on their face to just pain, to be quite honest. The other thing that you're describing is endometriosis, and this is when cells that are similar to the uterine lining grow outside of the uterus. When that happens, this can also cause a lot of pain. It can cause more than pain. It can cause heavy periods. It can cause chronic pain. I mean, it's one of the most mystifying diseases that we know of right now in terms of women's health, simply because we really don't understand what causes it. Stage 4 endo and stage 1 endo can act very differently, meaning someone with stage 1 endo can have more pain than someone with stage 4 endo. So why? You know what I mean? Like scientifically, we don't understand all of that stuff yet.
What are like the warning signs that one of these things might be happening?
So let's talk about endo first, because it's probably one of the most common things. So if you notice that you're having really heavy periods, I think that we normalize heavy periods as a society. We say, oh, periods are supposed to be heavy. If you're going through a pad an hour or a tampon an hour, that's a heavy period. If you're missing school because your periods are so painful, that's a problem.
Okay.
Periods shouldn't be that painful. In medicine, we say the 3 Ds for endometriosis, which is dysmenorrhea, which means painful periods, pain with pooping, okay, and dyspareunia, pain with sex. Those are the 3 signs that you may have endo. With PCOS, it's a little bit harder because it's one of those things where you can miss your period. It's one of those things where you can also bleed too frequently. Symptoms of PCOS is if you notice that you are having any changes in your periods, if you notice that you are having any type of bloating, discomfort, or just feeling super uncomfortable. PCOS has to do with your hormones and endocrinology, which makes it a little bit harder to treat.
Okay. And I guess this relates to pain during sex. You would obviously want to be treated no matter what. So talk to your doctor and see what would work.
I think part of the problem is that most people, when they have painful sex, don't have one thing going on. It's not like having a common cold where you're like, oh, here's endo. Let's go ahead and give you the birth control pill. Or you have PCOS. Let's go ahead and take out those cysts or something. It's oftentimes you have more than one thing. So 80% of patients with endometriosis have concomitant pelvic floor dysfunction, which is why it's one of the first things that we talked about. So then it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, or what's the biggest cause that's causing you to have painful sex? And you really want to target that treatment.
Yeah, for sure. Do you see a lot of change? We kind of touched on it. We joked about it earlier, but post having children, is there more or less or all across the board?
Yeah, it's all across the board depending on the cause. So, I mean, if hormones are one of the biggest causes of painful sex, then after you have a baby, you can have more symptoms.
Okay.
If it's the pelvic floor and you do deliver vaginally, like having that, watermelon come out of your vagina, you actually can feel better because like having a baby acts like a dilator to your pelvic floor.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I was kind of thinking.
Yeah. So there's benefit to it, more than just a child.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what the cause is stemming from. But yeah, I mean, it can both be helpful in either way.
Okay. So maybe to wrap up, we'll touch on difficulty orgasming. I have a friend who's been talking to me about this lately, and she said it was never an issue in my life, and I could always get there at least with the vibrator. But she said it's even tougher now with a vibrator, but definitely off the table with a partner. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. This is the most important aspect of, I think, treating sexual health because it's the most ignored because have you ever heard, I mean, you guys know this, you do this stuff, but like how many people will walk into my office and just say, I just thought no one orgasmed from penetrative intercourse. I thought I had to have some sort of like clitoral stimulation or vibrator. And while that's always helpful, there are people who can orgasm with penetrative intercourse. Yeah. And so I think understanding orgasm is really important because we said it before. I'm going to say it again because it's a key point. The absence of pain is not pleasure. You should be having pleasurable sex. Sex should not just be something that you're doing because you need to be doing. So orgasm kind of works in a couple of different ways. Orgasm number one of the biggest things we see in having difficulty orgasming is kind of like that mind-body connection that we talked about before. So oftentimes one of the biggest culprits of not orgasming are medications. Certain medications will cause you to not orgasm, period. You know what I mean? And so we have to oftentimes alter medications based on that. So I have a lot of patients who come to me maybe on an antidepressant and they notice a couple years later now they can't orgasm. So we can either add another medication, like it's an off-label use of things like Wellbutrin or other types of medications to alter those neurotransmitters in the brain to help patients achieve orgasm. The other thing that people do, and while this is not medical advice, it's just interesting to talk about, I think, is utilizing off-label use of things like oxytocin, like the love hormone, you know what I mean? Which is super helpful for some patients in orgasming. And the third aspect of it is physiologic. Is there a change in blood flow to the area? If there is a change in blood flow, like a tourniquet, like that neuromuscular response we were talking about. If you decrease blood flow to the area, it's going to be way harder to achieve orgasm.
What would do that?
So pelvic floor dysfunction would do that, because if the pelvic floor spasms around the capillaries, it's all connected.
Okay.
Yep. If the pelvic floor spasms around the capillaries that bring blood to the area, you're going to have more difficulty achieving orgasm.
Okay.
There's like other stuff that happens too, because if you decrease blood flow, you alter pH, which then can start to make sex a little bit more painful. You see what I'm saying? So like it kind of like all goes hand in hand together. But yeah, so there's different medications we can use to try to help patients orgasm. There's different topical like creams that we use to try to help people orgasm. And oftentimes we can even utilize things like Botox to increase blood flow to help people orgasm. So there's kind of different ways to tackle it, just depending on where the real source of the problem's coming from.
What kind of creams?
So it's
like a THC kind of thing? Would that help?
That's a great point. So there are cannabinoid receptors in the vagina. We know that. There's type 2 cannabinoid receptors in the vagina. So utilizing things like THC not only help relaxation in the area, but do help blood flow to the area. And it's something that's being more studied now, so we don't have a ton of data on it, but I think it's a super interesting aspect to look at. Other creams that can be helpful to increase blood flow that we're now looking at are things like LDN creams, like low-dose naltrexone, which is an immunomodulator that we use. I know. Now I'm starting
None
to
of
get
those words.
too technical.
I got. Is there a way to put that into words we understand?
Yeah. Let me back that up.
Stimulate
Cut that out. Cut that out.
No, keep it. This stays, Anna.
So let me think how to say this better. I knew I was going to do this. That's why I prefaced it.
I mean, I think I'm a doctor.
Creams that help to increase blood flow to the area are particularly helpful. So there are like plant-based creams, or there's more creams that actually just help to dilate the capillaries in the area that help to increase blood flow that can be helpful.
Yeah, we're looking into this. I mean, for our company with just arousal creams in general and just doing research, because this also seems like something that people would sell and doesn't work. You know, like I'm sure there's some scammy stuff out there. So we've kind of wanted to look into.
It's a great thing to look at because there's such a need for it. Do you know what I mean? Because I'll often get the response that there's oral medications that can help you with arousal and orgasm. You take them every single day, but they affect the neurotransmitters in your brain. So for a lot of patients, they don't want to take it because they're like, why am I going to take something every single day when I'm having sex? You know, some people are having sex daily, great, but some are not, right? And some people are having sex once a week and they're like, I don't want to take something daily if I'm only having sex once a week.
Sure.
So there's a need for that, you know, that a lot of people need to start looking at in order to enhance sexual function.
I imagine that if you've never had an orgasm or it's difficult for you, then you're in your head even more every time. And then you tense up and it's over. I mean, I remember having such a hard time getting a tampon in. It was like ruining my life. I was like, I can't not do this. I'm like in 8th grade. I want to go to this pool party. Like, and I wasn't doing it right. And I was like, I don't want to tell my mom. This is so embarrassing. And then I would just try it and then start sweating and start panicking. And then I'm probably closed up down there. And the time I got it, I remember I had this crush on this guy. We were on this school trip. And again, we were in the pool. We're an indoor pool in like a Holiday Inn. And I was like, Justin's in the pool. Like, of course, Raina loves it, Dustin. And I was like, I'm going to stick this tampon in my pussy if it's the last thing I ever do. And I remember just being so committed. And I got it in there, went down to the pool, and I had this like pink bikini. And then I was so happy. But probably months, and I'm not exaggerating, of just like almost close to tears in the bathroom, not wanting to tell my mom. And it's different, but you get like really, you psych yourself out if something you feel like is wrong in your body. And then it's not going to happen.
Well, guys that have ED, I mean, it's the same.
It's the same exact principle. Good call.
Like, they're like, I'm not going to get my dick's not going to stay hard.
Totally same call. Yeah,
it's the same physiology too. Because what happens with guys that happens with us, they start to contract, and it decreases blood flow to the area. And if they can't get blood flow to the area, they're not going to be able to get it up or keep it up for long periods of time. So, I mean, it's the same physiology, but it's so true. I mean, it's so interesting because I'll see people come into my office and they'll say, I tried so hard to get a tampon in. I mean, I was like putting it in and I tried these different positions and nothing is doing it. And now I never want to go near a tampon again because you've totally psyched yourself out at that point, right? You kind of like don't even want it near you.
Well, even 25 years we've been putting tampons in. I still fuck up, and I'm like, that one's got to come out. That feels
the wrong spot.
Yeah, it's in there wrong.
It feels like it's gonna come out, or it's like I know
doing this.
I know. It's so true. true.
I think it's so important to remove the stress of having an orgasm during sex and focus on having one alone. Why add that into the mix? Like then you're putting it on someone else and yourself. So obviously this is what we built our other whole company around is self-pleasure, but taking that out of the equation, if you want to, live your truth. But it seems to me that even ups the stress level and the anxiety and the pressure even more.
100%. And I think that that's the most important part, especially like if you don't know what you like, if you don't know what pleasure is for you, whatever that means, how are you going to expect someone else to give that to you?
Absolutely.
You kind of can't, you know? And that's why this stuff, the toys, the lubes, all that different stuff is so important to understand what you like and don't like and experiment. Try. I mean, how many times have people come into my office and been like, I don't think I would like that. And then they try it and they're like, oh, wait, I really like that. You know, like you don't know your own body. It's not something you're taught as, you know, growing up. In fact, you're taught like, don't.
Yeah.
So true. Well, this is so great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you're here. And people have wanted this episode for so long, and I feel like we really covered a lot of ground.
I just have one final question.
Yeah.
About my tight pussy. I'm totally kidding. Are we so different with our bodies? And some people are really just so much quote unquote tighter. No. And that really is an issue. And it's just a matter of, again, the same principles of training your muscles and getting there. And can you?
So, yeah, for some patients, they have what's called vaginismus, which is like they can't control the spasming of the muscles in their vagina. Now, it becomes one of these social things, right? Because like a virgin has a tight pussy. Like that's what we're used to thinking of. But for some people, they actually just cannot control the spasming of the muscles in that area. And in those cases, it is exactly that, like retraining the area and neuromuscle, like using the dilators, sometimes utilizing things like Botox. But, you know, I got asked this before. The question was like, are tight pussies really a thing? And no, you know, the truth is that no. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that on record.
Love it.
No.
So loose pussies aren't either.
No, exactly. Exactly.
We are debunking myths.
We are
Girls
like,
Gotta Eat.
everyone needs to know this. Like, we can change. Pussies can change. They're malleable. They're balanced. And they're perfect. And that's all that it is. And everyone's different at every different time. But I don't believe that, like, that should be some sort of a level that we try to get to in our lives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Love it.
Love that.
But that did bring me to kegels and your thoughts in general. Is it
So many thoughts. I love this question.
to strengthen that muscle?
I always say this, and it's true. Kegels have the best PR agent. I want whoever does PR for Kegels, do PR for me. Because everyone thinks that Kegels are the answer to everything, and they're not. So if you are leaking urine, do Kegels. Great. If you're having pain with sex, don't do Kegels. You're going to get a lot worse.
Okay.
If you are noticing that you're having issues orgasming, don't do Kegels. You're going to get a lot worse because you're going to keep decreasing blood flow to the area.
Okay, so don't tighten.
So don't tighten. Exactly that. So I would say the vast majority of the time, I'm telling people to do reverse Kegels, not Kegels.
Let it out.
Exactly.
A queef.
Yes, releasing. But it's true, you know? But everyone thinks that Kegels are the answers to everything. And they're
Queefing
not.
is the answer.
Well, we have a friend that is specializing in incontinence and the pelvic floor in that area.
Yeah.
So this isn't what this episode is about, but if you have that, Kegels
would be good for that. Correct.
glad you
But
brought
that's
that
the only thing.
Okay. We've really, towards the end, this got real spicy. Fuck your Kegels. You should be queefing. Tight pussies are not a thing. Put it on record. That's on that. All right.
Great. Okay. So this is really great. We covered so much ground. We're so happy to have done this topic with you. Your Instagram is like an amazing wealth of information. So tell everybody where they can find you for more of this.
You can find me on Instagram at pelvicpaindoc, and then you can find me on the internet at pelvicpaindoc.com.
Wow. What a great handle.
Doc.
Okay, great. And you guys can find us at girlsgottaeat.com. Get tickets to the Snack City Tour, all dates through 2023. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Girls Gotta Eat Podcast. I am Ash Hess. On social media, Rain is Rain.Greenberg. And Vibes Only, we talked about this a lot today. You can shop the whole product line at vibesonly.com. Follow Vibes Only on Instagram. Get the app. Get in there. Make yourself come. And we'll see you next week.
Have a good week, guys.
Bye.